Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the AtomicErgo podcast series here at Ergonomics. Today, we're really excited to have join us another executive advisory board member from Ergonomics, Mr. Kirby Mask. Kirby earned certifications as a certified safety professional, associate risk manager, certified professional ergonomist, let me see my words correctly here, a certified ergonomics assessment specialist 3, and certified lean ergonomist. He's worked across multiple industries to provide risk management, consulting, using his expertise in ergonomics, tribology, slip, trip, and fall, industrial operations, and construction. He's worked in risk management for 38 years for Liberty Mutual. Kirby specialized in construction ergonomics, specifically lean ergonomics, and he's also helped here with their educational background. Kirby is now a principal of a consulting company as well, and I'll let you talk about that. And so with that, I wanted to introduce Kirby, and I also want to introduce my co-host and colleague and good friend now. We've got to work together more, Earl-Ray Neal, who will be taking over now and speaking with Kirby and sharing some information, and hopefully you enjoy our next few minutes of discussion about how to make our workplace safer and happier in this ergonomics journey that's been ongoing and will continue to go for some time to make things better for our workplace and our working world. So Earl-Ray, I'll turn it over to you. And Kirby, thank you for being with us today.
Jamie,
Sure.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you again, as always. Kirby, I am so excited to have you on the program. First of all, I think if I understand, you're a good old Texas boy. Is that right? Went to Texas A&M. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, that's wonderful. I spent some time in Texas last year with my son playing college baseball, and I had a really good time. So, listening to all the things that you've accomplished in your career, those are some esteemed professional certifications that you've earned along with your degrees. So I would consider you to be what I call a lifetime learner. Who do you credit for that?
Well, I learned early on when I got out of A&M. I had a degree and I was working with a lot of folks, and I realized that just having a degree alone was not enough. There's a lot of people a lot smarter than I was, and on many topics. And Liberty Mutual at the time had a research center and some of the top researchers actually in the world. And I've met quite a few of them, who include Stover Snook and Vince Charles, and they're best known for their development with the Liberty Mutual lifting tables. Others included Michelle Robertson, who was best known for her work regarding office ergonomics, and Dr. Patrick Dempsey. And I worked with him one-on-one on one of his projects, but his project was regarding the usability of the NIOSH equation. So I was exposed to some of the best in the world at the time.
At what point in your career did you discover poor ergonomics as being such a huge problem on a national scale?
Well, back when I started back in the 80s, we didn't have personal computers, and we would be provided with some printouts of some loss runs, usually on a quarterly basis. And of course, back then we were having to do loss analysis by hand and developing service planning for a lot of our customers. And it was clear early on that overexertion was the number one cause of loss with most of my clients. And of course, in recent years, Liberty Mutual also published the safety index, which clearly shows that from over year after year after year, overexertion, which is ergonomic related, is still considered the number one cause of loss, mostly from a frequency standpoint and a cost standpoint.
So the risk management profession, it's all encompassing if you think about it. I'm curious as to, with all those many different areas of specialization that would be open to somebody with your education, experience, and training, what drew you to specialize in ergonomics?
Well, I want to go back to my college days. My degree is in safety engineering, which was part of the industrial engineering department at the time. So I have a lot of industrial engineering under my belt. But when you're hired on with Liberty Mutual, they encourage you to specialize in an area. And because of Liberty Mutual's legacy and all the specialty and the research center that we have, and the overall need in the industry, I gravitated towards the industrial and manufacturing safety, which included at the time ergonomics. And somewhere around 19, I want to say 90, 95, 96, one of my coworkers told me about this certified professional ergonomist. And so back then, it was just people were taking tests to become one. And it seemed like a good fit. That was always been my specialty up to that point. And basically, I qualified to take the test and I passed it. Now, because when you get the CSP and the CPE, you have to maintain that through further education. And it was like almost I had no choice but to just continue to go in that direction and take other courses. But in doing so through Liberty, within Liberty, and through outside courses. And because I became early on a CPE early on in my career, it just I became a leader more or less within Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. It was recognized throughout Liberty Mutual and was given a higher role within that. So it was just something that came about and fell in my lap in a way.
So when our CVO, Steve Davis, told us that we were going to be interviewing you and we started talking about your background and those types of things, it was obvious to me that there are specializations within specializations. And I was just super excited because, and I know you may not want me to say this, but you're widely recognized as an expert in leading ergonomics within the construction industry. So what's different about construction and why do you feel like you sort of gravitated your professional focus there?
Well, in a way, that was sort of another accident, I want to say. Because I specialized in industrial and manufacturing and ergonomics in sometime in the late 1990s and early 2000s, I found that many of my customers that I had in South Texas were pulling up their roots and moving their operations over into Mexico and into across overseas. And of course, having worked with Liberty Mutual, in a way, you are kind of a jack of all trades, even though you do have a specialty. But most of my work and most of my manufacturing industrial operations were leaving. And so they recognized that I could be of benefit to construction. And they pushed me toward more and more into the larger construction companies and operations that we insured. And so in the last 15 years of my service, that's where I was going. And the thing is more and more of the construction companies, especially the larger ones, were getting into lean. And this mainly revolved around just-in-time delivery and scheduling the labor to the task and to the work. And I saw also within that there was an opportunity to focus on individual tasks and to take some of them, take a look at the wasteful motions and movements that they're doing out of the day-to-day task, and make and at the same time educate the management. Not only is this extra movement and that y'all are doing and having in these jobs creating a waste as far as labor waste and time waste, but it's also increasing the risk.
I would venture to say that in the course of your career that you have encountered several ergo success stories. Before we wrap up today, I was wondering if you could just take a minute and share just one of those stories where you feel like that ergo has made a real change in somebody's life or a process. That's what Ergonauts at the end of the day about making people's lives better. That's what we're about. So could you relate one of those to us, Kirby?
Yeah. I want to say probably starting and there's been several accomplishments over the years. But one that kind of comes to mind, and I want to use this one because it kind of goes back to ergonauts and what they're trying to do now. And I just want to use this as an example. We had a office type setting. It's a call center, more or less, that had about 2,000 employees. And from me going out and doing the loss analysis, it was clear that losses primarily fell in two areas: is MSDs, musculoskeletal disorders associated with computer workstations, and the other one was slips, trips, and falls. And as an outside consultant, really, it's my job to educate the customer on what their losses are, the frequency and severity, and then, of course, what are the risk factors which could be contributing to the loss, and consequently, what should you possibly do about it? So, as part of our service planning, what we did, we came up with this plan to develop an ergonomic committee. And I just also want to say that this particular operation was 500 miles from where I live. So it's not like I could go out there every day or once a week or once a month. It was a special trip, maybe twice a year, that I would go spend a day with them. So it's like 2 days a year I had the opportunity to go in there and work with them. So what we wanted to do is, because of how many people were there, we needed to develop a committee made up of employees and management, train them, the committee, on MSDs and the risk factors normally associated with those MSDs, and how to complete a workstation assessment. Now, this included providing some understanding of MSDs and neutral positions and workstation adjustments as part of the existing and new employee orientation. It also included completing a workstation assessment on any new employees as they came in. It involved having a follow-up with the managers with those new employees and existing employees to see if there's any discomfort. And if there are, then that means that we would bring in one of the committee members to come in and do another reassessment if they continue. Now, on the harder cases, they would wait until I came back around, about once or twice a year to have my eyes on it. But if it continued, one of the things, then you get into the medical practitioner that was assigned to the company to determine if it's, if it's not workstation related, there's probably some other reasons and some causes. And so we want to see if it was there's some medical issues that may be leading to these.
So you were only getting to go there. What did you say? Once every couple of months? Is that how frequently you were going?
About twice a year.
About twice a year. Okay.
Yeah. So what happened though is, because we had, and I want to say I want to call it, we would put on a class every time I'd go, just to make sure that the committee was comfortable. They understood the risk factors. They understood how to do the assessments, and we would go out and do assessments together, so they felt comfortable doing that. But within a matter of a couple of years, this source of loss that we had went from about 50% of their losses to about 5% on an annual basis, and this was actually before COVID hit.
Well, and I think any employer out there needs to listen to what you just said about the reduction of loss. I mean, I think that is such an important, not only does it make, people's work lives better, but it also helps contain and reduce cost. So you were selected by Ergonauts as an expert for the post-beta pre-launch of the Ergo-Algo platform, specifically the evaluation of the product. So could you give us, and obviously if it was a bad review, you wouldn't be on the show. So I'm excited to hear about that. Can you give us your professional opinion about the Ergonaut technology that you find in the Ergo-Algo app?
Well, yes. And so, yes, obviously in my example, and the reason I used that example was to kind of bring up this particular topic, is that I think that the key to success in office ergonomics is understanding the risk factors associated with MSDs and how to properly complete an assessment. And being that we took a bunch of people who really didn't know anything at all about any of this and got them to the point where they were very, very successful. And yes, it was under my tutorship, but we didn't have a platform that we could use. But this platform itself, I actually, like I said, went through it, and it pretty much includes everything that I would have looked for, and I do. And so it was masterfully done. And it's I do, and the thing is if you consider the cost of repetitive motion injuries associated with office work, in my opinion, every company that has a dedicated office staff, anybody's working on a computer for 4 hours or more, should have someone within their organization capable of doing these assessments, going through, and this product will give them that capability.
Kirby, you were a little worried about how you would do today. Well, let me just tell you, brother, you knocked it out of the park. I mean, honestly, you have some boots on the ground experience that most folks that come on had. And I just think it was fascinating how you tied your example of ergo success, the process that you went through. And that's why I asked you about how often you got to go. Could you imagine having all of your board members having access to the Ergo-Algo app and being able to consistently every 4 to 6 weeks go in and do an evaluation of those workstations and being able to spit it right back out to you automatically?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. It was very enlightening. Jamie, we've got another one in the books, brother.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Herbie, for sharing your expertise and your experience. To me, just from taking your own words there, is the understanding and assessment of risk factors is essential. And ergonomics is providing the tools that can help you do that and do that effectively and consistently. And the depth and breadth of your experience and the things we've heard in the previous podcast, where we talked about the real numbers and so forth, the impact that this has upon our industries, it is an essential and key time for us to be engaged in this venture of what ergonomics is wanting to bring to help improve the workplace and make folks safer and come home from work as they came to work in a better, healthier position than they were. Thank you.
Can we talk to Steve and see if he can get something in the app to fix that dent in my head? Can we do something about that?
Yeah, just lean over this way.
Don't move too quick, right?
All right. So,
Kirby, thanks again. We really appreciate it.
We've had a great time talking with you today, and this is wrapping up episode 5, and we look forward to talking with you on the future period, of course, as far as our board meetings all go, and excited to see where the future goes with our notes. All right, with that, we will log off. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you on the next podcast. All right, have a good one. Kirby, thank you.
Have a great day.